Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's my pleasure once again to wish you a very happy Marcintosh. It should be Marcintosh all year long. No, kind of is here. Well, anyhow, we are continuing in our series of videos that compare the iMacs of the PowerPC era. Up today is the last of the, at least in my possession, the last of the Imac G4s from 2003, compared and contrasted with the first of the Imac G5s from 2004. Let's find out what a difference a year makes. And if you want to find that out too, please stay tuned. And here they are side by side. On the left is the 2003 iMac G4, on the right the 2004 iMac G5. I wish they could have kept that flower pot design. It is really beautiful. Port selection on the back. That's the mini VGA, 3 USB 1.1, 2 Firewire 400, power connection, phone jack, Ethernet, the digital audio headphone jack, and a microphone jack. Whereas here we have microphone jack, headphone jack, there is the mini VGA, we have 3 USB 2 ports. I should point out there is a missing factor here. This machine really was only on the market for about 6 months. It then got replaced with a version that has a USB 2. Okay, 2 Firewire 400. I don't really know why they didn't include Firewire 800, but they didn't. Phone and Ethernet. Okay. Yep, there's a whole computer in here. It's thick, but like I say, that back comes off easy and you can upgrade it very easily. All right, now the screens. Now, they're both 17-inch displays, but they're configured a little differently. The G5 display looks smaller, in part because of that huge chin around it there. All right, and yes, it'll go up and down. I suppose it'll turn. The whole stand will turn. I won't do that. We'll scratch up the table. Okay. And up and down and around. What a beautiful design that is. Well, okay. We'll start out with the G4. I'll get that connected up and powered up, and we'll take a look. Stay tuned. So, we're back here again with the 2003 iMac G4. Just a reminder of our specs. 1 GHz PowerPC G4, 2 GB of DDR SD RAM. There is an airport card in this machine, by the way. I have turned it off in favor of Ethernet to the Airport Extreme, Airport Express. It's still kind of slow, but it works. We do have a disk burner here. It's I think the identical drive to the one that's in the 2002. Our boot drive is a solid state disk. And of course, graphics and displays, the NVIDIA GeForce 4MX with 64 megabytes of video RAM. All right. So let's run the benchmarks again. Why does it insist on going outer screen there? And Geekbench. And we'll run it. Okay, stay tuned. All right, the results are in. The overall score, 591, which is up a bit from last time I ran it. We can see everything here. integer 719, floating point was 621, memory 459. This is all pretty consistent. Stream 307, that's up. That's up. Okay. Very good. Now for OpenMark. And we'll run it. Stay tuned. OpenMark continues to be the absolutely most consistent benchmark I have ever seen. It is exactly the same every time you run it. 1752 here on this machine. All right, and that brings us to the king of PowerPC benchmarks, Xbench. And of course, we're running all of them. Okay, stay tuned for the results. All right, the results are in, and interesting. Up a little bit from when I read it in the last video at 29.29. And interestingly, down the line, everything is up except for the CPU test, which is down 5 points from what it ran before. Why? Who knows? And probably if I ran it again, it'd go right back up again. All right. Interesting. Okay, we quit Xbench. We're not going to save that because we made notes. Close that. Close that. And this time I will not need to update 10.4 Fox. So, let's see how long it takes to load ESPN.com, shall we? Stay tuned. All right, it was a bit over 3 minutes. And unfortunately, as a test, this, I'm afraid, ESPN, of course, keeps changing. And it changes hourly. So it's hard to get consistent reads on it, but it does show the difficulty of trying to load a dynamic web page like that. Okay. Now, I realized that I forgot one. NeoOffice to usability. All right. There's a splash screen. It remains faster than the 2002. Be interested in seeing what 2004 has to bring. Waiting for the insertion point. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, it was about 43 seconds. I had difficulty stopping it. But yeah. There we go. Quit NeoOffice. We will not save the gibberish. All right. Yeah, you can still see that scratch right in there. All right. But we're going to go WebKit to YouTube. And I'm signed in this time. That may help. I guess if you don't start up a machine in a certain amount of time, it just signs you out. And I haven't had this machine booted up for months. Kind of too bad. It's a nice machine. All right. We're waiting for the times. And we got them. Okay, make that 45 seconds. All right, so I'm going to get the video loaded up, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes of loading up, and let's start this guy. Get the volume turned way down so I can talk over it more easily. And it starts right up and absolutely in sync. Very watchable. Still 360p, but in theater mode. So, I mean, YouTube is actually quite successful. You do have to be patient with it. There's no question. You do have to be patient. But does it work? Heck yeah. All right. Let's... Wait a minute. I've got a keyboard for this. Mute myself. All right. So, interesting. Now, we're going to turn the page and magically transport from 2003 to 2004. Please stay tuned. All right, welcome to the year 2004 and the iMac G4. As I keep saying, a twin to the Mac that my mother gave me. Okay, this is a 1.6 gigahertz PowerPC G5 with 2 gigabytes of RAM. That's the base level of these iMacs. And that's what my mom gave me. I did later upgrade the RAM to 2 gigabytes from, what was in there, 512? I don't really even remember. It's a long time ago. All right. This machine, of course, I recently upgraded with the 2 gig of RAM and put the SSD in. All right. 8,1 Power Mac. Everything was a Power Mac at that point. All right. Graphics and displays, GeForce FX 5200. All right, we had the Quartz Extreme. Yeah, it's a 64 megabyte RAM card, very similar to what was in the G4. This does have an airport card, which I am going to turn off. And the reason that I'm turning it off is we've got a slightly faster connection with Ethernet. All right, as usual, we will start the festivities with the benchmarks. So let's find Geekbench. Yeah. Are you going to open up? Oh, it was already running. There we go. Yeah, I think that was it. All right. Check for updates. Yeah, the PowerPC version of Geekbench gets updated regularly still today. Okay. All right. So we'll run the benchmarks. This should go quite a bit faster, but I will spare you the wait. We'll be back with the results. Stay tuned. And the results are in. Not a huge surprise. 1046, that's not quite double the score that we saw even on the faster of the two G4s. And that's not that surprising, really. Memory bandwidth, that's way higher. Memory performance, floating point, integer. The test ran in a little over half the amount of time. And in my time with this booted up and doing various things on it, it just feels way faster. Okay, so we can close out a Geekbench. I'm going to be interested in seeing OpenMark just to see if indeed there is a significant difference between the performance of the graphics card in the G4 and the G5. Okay, stay tuned. And here's our result. And interestingly enough, 1752, it's an identical score to the G4, which doesn't really surprise me that much. Okay, we can quit out of OpenMark. And finally, Geekbench. And as usual, we're just going to run all the tests. All right, we will be back with these results momentarily. Stay tuned. Okay, we have our results. The overall score is 59.97, which smokes the G4, which is 29.29. And generally, everything is up. Processor 9177 as opposed to 3986. That's more than double. Pretty amazing. Thread test 43.9. Not as big a jump. The G4 was 36.05. Memory test. And this surprises me. 75.9. On the G4, it was 28.29. And darn it, it's the same memory. 2 gigabytes of DDR RAM, and I think I got them both at OWC, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that I find very, very surprising. There's obviously other things going on there. Quartz graphics, 87.39 as opposed to 46.20. So OpenMark may not have been noticing a big difference, but of course OpenMark is all OpenGL. So we get 64.59 and the OpenGL 60.82. So there wasn't a huge difference between the two there in OpenGL. It was the Quartz graphics where it's really finding a difference. All right. User interface, and this is interesting too. 30.91 as opposed to 9.33. And I do have to say, this seems really snappy. Now here's the one that really surprised me. The disk test. Overall 94.36. The G4 was 180. Now I'm gonna run just the disk test again. We won't save that because I took notes. Open it again. This should go very, very quickly. It's only running the one test. $94.83. It went up a little bit. Now, yeah, I mean, this has got no, we don't want to save it. This has got a Mercury Electra 3G in it, whereas the iMac has silicon power. However, I just can't see that making that big a difference. I mean, the G4 is an ATA. This is on Saddle 1. Very surprising. Okay. Let me check that. And now, I'm going to have to go get my timer. We are going to run 10-4 Fox to ESPN. Stay tuned. Okay, just so you can see what I'm doing here, I've now got the timer handy. And let's start up 10.4 Fox, which is set to go to ESPN. 10.4 Fox itself comes up a lot more quickly anyway. All right, stay tuned. And here we are. 1 minute 46. That's about half what it was taking. Now, as I commented in the last video, or maybe it was the first part of this video, ESPN may not be the greatest comparison, particularly since I end up doing the tests at very different times of day. The amount of internet usage going on, in the area, what's up on ESPN at any given time. But still, to get to usability, we're able to scroll down a little bit. I think that's quite good. Now, I've got a little bit out of order here. I should make a note of that. 146.94. All right. The thing that I skipped, and I almost clicked System Preferences again, NeoOffice to usability, and go. Come on, let's get the window. There's the window. And insertion point. Okay. You can hear the typing going on. And there it is. All right. $35.52. And I have completely forgotten what it was on the G4. Oh, Lordy. But it definitely seemed much, 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 much faster. Okay, how about WebKit to YouTube? And this should be pretty quick as well. Okay, I'm not signed in here either. Okay, and there's our times. Just about 30 seconds. And again, I neglected to make a note of what it was on the G4. I will put up some commentary during editing, of course. All right, so I'm going to need to sign myself in. I'm going to need to get a video up to watch to do the YouTube test. Stay tuned. All right. Obviously, I had never watched a YouTube video on this machine. I know that because when I opened WebKit and started trying to, I found the video, and of course it auto-played black. What I discovered, of course, when I set this machine up, I did a clean install and then restored from a Time Machine backup from my other iMac G5. That evidently did not replace the QuickTime version. WebKit requires QuickTime 7.7. What was on there was 7.3. This now should work. And I set it to 720p. Let's see what, if anything, it can do.
Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm going to try to keep this short because this is actually...
This looks pretty good.
To the intro. The series...
Pretty good indeed.
Today was actually recorded some time back.
I'm impressed. I didn't think it'd be able to do it, quite honestly. I really didn't think so.
Retro to attack folks.
But yeah, look at that.
Declared the
Playing in
marketplace
720p, no
budget
issues.
and
How
to turn it into a
about
celebration
that?
of
I've got the sound
everything
turned
that's
down.
happened on Macintosh.
The built-in speaker is not horrible, but I do miss those Apple Pro speakers. Okay,
Pretty much
we'll close out of that. I'll tell you, I didn't think it would do it. I really didn't think it would. It's a 64 megabyte video card, very similar to what's in the G4, but that boost in processor. And I'll tell you, just overall, dealing with this machine, this thing is great. Absolutely great. The comparison between the G4s and the G5s, I mean, the generations on these things were quantum jumps. The G3s going to the G4s were the same way. G4s to the G5s, this is not a super powerful G5, 1.6 gigahertz. But darn it, it's smooth. Well, okay. Be good to other people. Other people need it and deserve it. Be good to yourselves. That's where it starts from. We'll make the world a better place. It isn't yet, so please take very, very good and careful care. All right, the last video, unless something unusual happens, in this particular Marcintosh series will be the comparison of the 2004 iMac G5 that you see in front of you and the 2005 version. And we'll see exactly where that takes us. Should be interesting. And we've got a bunch of other things coming up after that too, so be not concerned. We'll be around here for a while. Until those things do appear on the channel, this has been Broken Electronics.